and welcome to this week's episode of Eleventylife. My name is Matt, for those of you who are new to the Eleventy family, and for those of you who have stuck with us for, possibly going on 10, 15... No, it can't be that long. As long as our band has been around, I think the official form date was 2002. We were 15, maybe. Welcome. And it feels good. I kind of imagine whenever I start the podcast every week that we're all just kind of gathered around some super cool fire orb in the middle of a nebula, floating around in our unicorn spaceships, having some sort of galactic fireside chat with each other. Sometimes it works, and sometimes it just spaces me the hell out. And so anyway, whoever you are, wherever you are, however you got here, I'm glad that you're here, and I'm feeling a little weird today for today's episode. Maybe I can be honest about that. We are in the middle. We have a ton of different things going on at home, in the studio, with the band. We have probably 5 or 6 different episodes that we're working on right now for Eleventylife. So this episode is going to be a little bit different. This episode is going to be dedicated to the Eleventylife Facebook group and everybody who has posed questions for an Ask Me Anything episode. And maybe we'll get to some other fun, cool little things on today's episode as well. But in the meantime, this one is specifically for you guys. And I hope that you like it. A huge thank you to everybody who is a part of the Eleventylife Facebook group. Man, you guys just keep posting the funnest and coolest things on there. And we're very quickly coming to the end of our karaoke competition challenge. Actually, it's over. It's done. It's over. And we're going to announce a winner. And we're going to present you with the one and only official 2018 Eleventy7 karaoke trophy for you to cherish forever, or I don't know, to gift to your parents this Christmas and have them wonder what the hell's going on. So as many of you guys know, we had a Kickstarter for our latest album, Rad Science, or for the release of that album, Rad Science. And one of the things that you could get if you pledged to back this album was studio time with me at the Rock Candy Recording Studios here in lovely Western North Carolina. And guess what? A really cool guy named Anthony Sarnelli, who you guys have probably seen wandering around the Facebook group or the Eleventyverse. He has a super fun band called The Cinematics, and they are a pop punk ska band. And we got to do some recording this weekend with him, and it was absolutely lovely to spend that time talking, upstroking guitars, and tracking horns. He's quite an accomplished horn player, I found out. And Anthony, this is your shout out, man. I had a wonderful time with you this weekend, and I hope that you had a great time as well. So that's Anthony Sarnelli. If you guys see him wandering around the Eleventyverse, go give him a high five. So today, while we are busy editing other Eleventylife episodes with people and friends that I know that you're going to love, this episode is going to be, like I said before, an AMA that's completely just focused on the Eleventylife Facebook group. So I'm literally going to pull up the webpage and go from there for this episode and address these questions that you guys posted individually, and I'll do my best to give you a decent answer for them. So the first one comes from Miriam and says, do you think pineapple goes on pizza? I think pineapple goes on anything that you can put it on legally, and maybe some things that you can put it on illegally as well. Our favorite band pizza, our official Eleventy7 band pizza, is pepper. It's thin crust, pepperoni, and banana pepper pizza. That is our love language. That is a way to our heart. If we didn't have wives or we didn't have family that cared about us, we would literally be eating ourselves to death of that pizza right now. So that's fun. So Megan says, when can we expect some more Jelly Rocks tunes? And then she gave a cute little winky face. Megan, winky face right back at you. I honestly don't know. We're at any given time, we're normally in the studio or in Rock Candy sitting on about an album's worth of material that we could release, but it's not. I mean, it's in our opinion, we don't release something if we feel like it's garbage. And I know that that's all relative to the listener. There may be things that we're making that we really hate that you guys would love, and vice versa. There are things that we really love that you guys would be like, why did you put this out into the universe? So it normally just takes some time for us to figure that out, to live with the songs a little bit and see if we feel like they have a high utility or a staying power to them. But yeah, it kind of just depends. In the past, it's just been me sort of floating around. And then whenever I have a collection of tunes that I feel like would make a good album or make a cohesive album, I'll finish them or I'll just get into a headspace of where I can totally devote all of my creative energy to creating something that feels cohesive. So yeah, having said that, there's probably an EP's worth of Jelly Rock stuff that could be finished. I don't know, within a month or so that we could release. But it takes an awful lot of energy. Since we run our own label, we release through our own label. There's a lot of different work that goes on behind the scenes. We also produce and engineer our own albums. So that takes an awful lot of time too. And I really, really struggle with perfectionism. I always try to get things super, super perfect. And that's probably not the best characteristic of myself. And I should probably learn to let go of a lot of those things. And I'm in the process of doing that. So thank you for reminding me, Megan, to become a better person by not being a perfectionist asshole. The next question is from Nolan, and it says, what would you suggest for someone wanting to get into making music? Don't. That's my number one advice. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not sure where to start with that. What would I suggest for someone wanting to get into making music? There's so many different ways that you can make music. You can make music as a hobby. You could try to make it for a living. You could try to be a music producer, somebody who's in charge of making sure that albums do sound cohesive and that the right songs are matched with the right artists. And or you could be a mix engineer and just be somebody who takes raw tracks and albums when they're done and just makes the mix completely slam and really fun to listen to. There's an immense amount of artistry that goes into mixing a song and making the song feel like it goes together, making sure that there's nothing that kind of pulls your ear, that takes you out of the experience. Mix engineers are really, really good at taking raw material and making it sound the absolute best that it can. And likewise, mastering engineers take what the mix engineer has done, and when they master a track, they make that track sound as absolutely good as it can on every different format that you might listen to it on. So mastering engineers are making sure that, man, if there's any last little bit of low end that we can sort of tighten up, or bass frequencies that are just going to make this song bump in your car and make it really fun to listen to, they're in charge of that, making it sound super crispy, super clear in the top end. Just something that sounds really good on your laptop speakers, as well as something that sounds good on a super hi-fi system where everything is sort of out there for the world to see. So yeah, in terms of suggesting someone wanting to get into making music, I would say you can't go wrong with picking up an instrument and learning it. Or maybe you already know an instrument, and maybe what you mean by getting into making music is how do I be in a band? How do I do kind of what Eleventy did? Or maybe you have a favorite band that you're like, how do I get to where they are? There's 100 different ways to do it, but I can tell you for sure that the people that I know that are doing music and making a living at doing music are ones that pick up a guitar, and even when they don't feel like being creative, they discipline themselves to be creative, to write that lyric, to write a song, to go through 30 super shitty songs to get to that one song that is really good. That people that are interested in honing their artistry, and a lot of times there are people that are really good at at the business side of being in a band. We've toured with a ton of artists who, in my opinion, and I don't mean this disparagingly, were not the most talented or great artists in the world, but they knew what they wanted, they knew where they wanted to go, and so they did the best that they could to better themselves personally. So they became as good as they could be at an instrument, at songwriting, at getting the lingo, and then started networking with people around them who were way better at what they did than they were. So for instance, if you're not super great at mixing your songs, hire a mix engineer. If you are really into performing and you want to perform music and you feel like your place is entertaining and on stage, then get as good as you possibly can at singing, at working a crowd, and then seek out people that write songs and partner with them. Find ways to respect their artistry and find ways to discipline yourself to get where it is that you want to go. If you have a dream of being in a band and playing a show, put together a band, see what that's like. Go through some members. Again, pick up a guitar, write songs, find other people that are writing songs. If you're decent at bass, find a band that needs a bass player. If you can totally shred on guitar, start finding a songwriter who you can elevate their songs. Figure out what your value proposition is. Figure out what you can offer to the world, what you can offer to your friends, or what you can offer to your own local music community. I feel like right now is an important time, probably now more than ever, as we're starting to see this weird sort of middle class of musicians dying. I feel like now more than ever, it's important to go out, be in a band, take the stage, grab a microphone, say something important to you. It doesn't have to be the most earth-shattering thing that you've ever said. It doesn't have to be something that you know is going to change the world and change lives. It just has to be something honest and something real. It just has to be you standing up, standing out with friends in front of other people and saying, this is us, we're weird, and we're going to be weird in front of you, and we're going to put that out into the world and see what happens with it. Sometimes that is the most powerful thing. You don't have to be the best band. You don't have to be the best artist or the best at what you're doing. I feel like what people really resonate with in artists is honesty, is this sort of artistic integrity that people figure out a way to maintain, or a way of being relatable. And when I say relatable, I think, as I'm sort of mulling it around in my mind right now, I think relatable also means vulnerable, also means sharing parts of yourself that might make you seem weak, or that might make you seem, I don't know. I struggle with this too. I feel like this is something that I try to do as an artist. I try to get to a place where I say something that makes me a little uncomfortable. I try to say something that I wish everyone didn't know about me, because for me, it feels really cathartic. It feels like, gosh, if I could just say it out loud, if I could just get this feeling, this emotion that I feel like has power over me, if I can say it out loud, if I can be vulnerable in front of people, there's something so freeing about that. Sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes you kind of fall flat on your face, and sometimes you feel like, wow, I really put myself out there and maybe I shouldn't. But you'll never know where that line is. You'll never know what the good kind and the bad kind is until you actually just get on stage and do it. So yeah, maybe that's a roundabout way of answering your question, but it's the answer that I have for you tonight. So yeah. Nolan also says, to add to that, what would you suggest for someone trying to do it alone? Don't do it alone. Just because you're a solo artist doesn't mean that you don't need a team of people. It doesn't mean that you don't need friends. It doesn't mean that you don't need people that are better than you at what you're doing. You need a community of people to be able to realize your potential. But I will say, if you, on the things that you can do alone, just try to be disciplined, man. I have a really hard time with that. I have to make lists. Our studio is full of lists because I am a constant running list in my mind, and a lot of times just as soon as I think of something that needs to get done, or someone that needs to be called, or an edit that needs to be made, or something that I hear that needs to be moved or replaced or improved, I put it down on a list so I don't have to have it rattling around in my brain. And that has been incredibly helpful for me over the past few years that I've tried it. So here we go. I don't know how to pronounce this person's name. Dado Dwayne or Juini. I'm murdering that. I know. I'm sorry. But he says, when are you going to do concerts all over the world? And also, you've never done concerts in France, UK, Russia, Spain, Italy, Brazil, Amsterdam, South Korea, and I hope it's soon. This makes me so happy when I read things like this, because there's a bit of a disconnect in for bands that are super successful. It's not, for most people, it's not as easy as just saying, oh, let's go play in France or Russia or Spain or Italy. And you're right. We have done a bunch of shows in Europe, but I don't think we've ever done any shows. Possibly we did a show in Amsterdam. I don't remember. I would love to play in South Korea. I'm a huge K-pop fan, and I think that would be super fun. I don't know if we're going to be doing worldwide touring. I think if we did, it would probably be it's more likely to be in Japan, or possibly like Sweden, or a place where we have historically had a draw, or been been a really good fit for a show or for a festival over there. We love playing in Europe, and it is mega fun, but it is also a huge time commitment to get over there. And when you have families, it gets a whole lot harder. And when you're running a studio, it gets a lot harder as well. So I would love to. I am open to the idea, but it doesn't look like we're going to be leaving the continent anytime soon. So I apologize for that. In the same vein, Jacob says, "Do you think touring again is possible for the band in the future?" Oh my gosh. Jacob, absolutely. I'm literally like right behind me. I am looking at a setup that we're putting together for some new Eleventylife sets. And it looks like Davey and I are figuring out how to do those shows with just ourselves. So we're firing up a lot of synthesizers and programming a lot of stuff for these shows that we have, that we're looking forward to doing. It's probably going to be closer to the beginning of the year, which is literally just a couple months away. But we're hoping to be able to have some dates on the books this winter, and take the stage again and have some fun, make some bubbles, dress up like unicorns, and play some music and sing along with you guys. We miss that so much. It's the one thing that we probably miss the most about being in a band, is just playing shows and being able to have that camaraderie with our fan base, and being able to sing songs together and goof off and eat pizza and play loud music. And yeah, so try out some new dance moves, all that stuff. So it is on our radar. We are making moves right now to make sure that happens in early 2019. So there you go. There's that. Alex, you are next on the agenda. Alex, you asked me how do you make a PB&J sandwich, and all I could think of was just things that don't go on a PB&J sandwich. I mean, if I had to make a PB&J sandwich right now out of the things around me, it would be, I would start with pimento cheese and a hard drive. And maybe mix in a broken microphone, and that would be my PB&J sandwich. Yeah, so there's that. I miss you, dude. I hope that you're doing well. I keep seeing you pop up on the internet, and I'm looking forward to hearing about your hosting gigs that are coming up that I know you're super excited about, and I know that the Eleventy family is excited for you doing that. Holden, You asked what our favorite movies, shows, bands, songs we've written, whatever I feel like. Right now, as soon as I'm done with this, I'm probably going to go upstairs to hang out with Jessica and finish the last 3 episodes of Walking Dead that we've been working through our way through for like the past 6 years or however long that show's been on the air. And at this point, I'm kind of not even a big fan of the show. I just would really like to know how it ends. So I'm invested. Favorite movies for me, I'm kind of a big Tim Burton fan. Corpse Bride. I love that movie. I love Nightmare Before Christmas. Man, I feel like I cry almost every time that I hear that entire score. I'm a huge Danny Elfman fan, and I super relate to the Jack Skellington character and to the lyrics and melodies in that score and in a lot of those songs. I just think that they are transcendent, otherworldly. And now that Halloween is just around the corner, I'm probably going to be sticking that in the DVD/Blu-ray player. I don't know what we have it on, but we have it on a disc somewhere. And we normally like to make a night out of that. So, yeah, maybe that's something we should all do as Eleventy family is do a screening of The Nightmare Before Christmas. That actually sounds like the funnest thing to me right now as I'm thinking about it. Movies that kind of float to the top right now, Zoolander. I absolutely love the first Zoolander film. And I could probably watch that one on repeat. Step Brothers is also another comedy that I'm like super into. I can always watch that. I always have time for that. Always have bandwidth for Step Brothers. I'm a big John C. Reilly fan. And there's something about the crassness of that humor and the weirdness of the timing and the situational humor that they get into. And you can almost tell that they're just running scenes in that movie in particular, in Step Brothers, over and over and over again, and just trying out different lines and just waiting for the most absurd thing to come out. At least that's the impression that I get. I have a hunch that I think that's how a lot of those movies get made. Yeah, so that's that. Also, Pan's Labyrinth is pretty far up there for me. I'm a big like sci-fi fantasy film guy. So yeah, anything that has unicorns or gnomes or Harry Potter characters, I'm pretty into. Shows, the last show that I went to, I actually don't like going to shows. A lot of you guys probably know that already, because they're really loud and they make me a little nervous to be there. But when I do go to them, I try to have fun, or I'm going normally to meet another band or to hang out with friends or maybe just support my local scene. The last show that I went to that just left me moved was I saw the Pixies play. I didn't know that you guys a lot of you are probably too young to know or be aware of the Pixies, but they are one of my all-time favorite bands. And they put out this album called Doolittle. And Doolittle has already been sort of inducted into like the 100 greatest rock albums of all time. I can't remember who, Rolling Stone or Paste or somebody. But I love that record. I can listen to Doolittle by the Pixies on repeat constantly, never take it out of the CD player. Or actually, I feel like somebody got me that album on vinyl recently, and we were just listening to it again the other day. But there is something super cool about how raw and just vibrantly human that album feels. It just feels like it runs the gambit of human emotion, just rage and sorrow and sadness and elation. And there's also a lot of these like weird sort of biblically cryptic lyrics that Black Francis, the lead singer of the Pixies, or Frank Black, depending on where you're looking on the internet, he just has this really cool way of lyricizing the world around him, and I think it's really fun. If you haven't checked that album out, you should. It will change things for you. You might hate it, but even if you hate it, it will change you. So, I think "Doolittle" by the Pixies is probably my favorite album, and I think my next favorite album, which is probably right up there with "Doolittle" by the Pixies. And Jeff Winter, you get a shout out for this because you're a huge ELO fan too. But Electric Light Orchestra put out an album in 1983, I think. I might be wrong about that. It is called "Time," and it might be my all-time favorite album of all time, named "Time" by ELO. Yeah, that record just sounds magical. The opening song of this album is called "Twilight," and it literally, every time I put it on, it makes me feel like I'm flying through space on a unicorn. And yeah, of course I like that kind of stuff. Of course that's how it would make me feel. I'm Matt, after all. So yeah, if you haven't heard that, you should check it out. It's super cool. And the album is pretty old, so it doesn't sound super hi-fi. Like, it's not super crisp and cool. It kind of sounds a little, it sounds like it was done on tape. Like, a lot of the edges are rounded off. It sounds old, and it sounds like it's definitely recorded in an age where, you know, it's not super hi-fi, but there is a timeless sound to the album. There's a timelessness to the songwriting and to the melodies. They're just absolutely movingly magical. And I love them. Favorite bands? Well, you got two of them right there. Pixies, Electric Light Orchestra. I'm also a really big fan of The Faint. We actually were in talks with a couple of them about possibly doing a record right after Galactic Conquest came out. And that would have been like a dream of mine to have some of the guys from The Faint help us produce an album. But for whatever reason, I can't remember. We just couldn't get the right mixture of timing and songs together or something. But yeah, they're a super rad band, and they do amazingly cool things with synthesizers and kind of similar to what we do, but gosh, way cooler. Just infinitely cooler than our band. They use synthesizers in like the coolest ways, just distorting them and making all of these weird noises and sounds, and then creating loops out of them. And just, man, it is this mega punk rock sort of art energy that they put into all of their stuff. And I'm a huge fan. If you have not heard of The Faint, you should go check them out because they're super cool. And I'm still like pretty into some pop punk stuff. Like today I was checking out the latest Knuckle Puck record because a lot of people were trying to tell me about Knuckle Puck, and I just hadn't checked them out yet because I just haven't had the time. And I was super impressed. I thought that they had some mega cool songs. And when I was listening to their latest record, I can't remember what the name of it was. I'll have to pull up Spotify and see. Maybe I'll throw some of their tracks on the 11 Mix playlist that we have on Spotify so you guys can check it out too. Actually, that's a good idea. I'm going to do this for all these things that I'm mentioning right now. Yeah, so there's that. Songs, whenever anybody asks me what my favorite songs are, I normally think about just 80s new wave and pop. It just pops into my head. So I don't know if I should get into any specifics about that. Favorite song I've ever written? Oh man, I don't know. I try not to think about it. I mean, once it's done, it's done. And I kind of feel like I need to move on from it and get some new ideas or think about things in a new way or find some new stories to tell or find some new feelings to emote or whatever. I think maybe the song that I like the most, maybe from a songwriting standpoint, is maybe all the stuff on Attack of the Mount Medley. I think because all that stuff for some reason just felt like it came from a place that felt really natural and easy for me to get out quickly. But then once it was out, it was kind of like I didn't feel like I had written those songs, or didn't feel like I had tried like I normally do to write songs. They just sort of I don't know, they kind of had a mind of their own and came out. So I think I relate to those as somebody listening from the outside and not somebody who wrote them. As weird as that sounds, for everybody who writes songs, you guys can probably relate to that. If you can, let me know about it. Come join the Eleventylife Facebook group and let me know about that. Chase, you say, moving on to the next question. Chase says, what is your writing process like? My writing process is normally consists of me doing one of two things. Songs always start out one of two ways for me. One is I hear a song that just there is an energy and a vibe and a coolness to it, or something that I relate to. There's something about it that moves me physically or emotionally, and I just get excited. And I will run downstairs, flip on the computer, fire up the studio, and just start playing, just start getting down the idea for the melody, or just feeling that vibe, and just turning a microphone on and singing. And most of the time, the words that come the fastest to me are normally profanity. So I'll just sort of sit down in front of a microphone and just most of the time just sing really, really profane lyrics or curse words into a microphone, because everything rhymes with curse words for some reason. And then I'll go back once I have that melody, once I have that curse word melody down, and I'll replace it with lyrics that maybe aren't so crass, aren't so stupid. But yeah, so that's one way that they start out. Another way is, man, I just get down here and go to work. I feel like if the people that I run into, they're like, man, I just got to really wait to be inspired. No, inspiration is not waiting for you. So why are you waiting for it? A lot of times you just have to just fire up your guitar, fire up your microphone, and just start goofing off. Most of our songs start by me just goofing off. And getting quiet, giving myself space, turning my cell phone off, turning off all of my notifications, locking myself in the studio, and just letting everything get quiet, letting everything get uncomfortable, waiting for all of my worries and doubts and fears and hum that I have constantly running around in the back of my head. I wait for that to just reach a fever pitch. And once all of that sort of bubbles up to the top and I feel like, oh my gosh, I have an existential crisis of what am I doing with my life? What is happening? What am I going to do about all of my relationships and my problems and my worries and what's going to happen with 100 different things happening in life right now? And then just really dumb shit like, oh my gosh, I should be cleaning right now. I should be doing anything more responsible than this right now. And I wait for all of that to sort of come to a head and to drive me nuts. And it's at that point where you feel like it's just about to destroy you to be alone with yourself and your thoughts and your insecurities and your weirdness and your worries. And all of a sudden it goes away. If you give it a minute, if you give it time, if you give yourself over to the silence long enough, the silence will beat out the voices in your head. And there's just this world of melodies and thoughts and ideas that are just floating around. And all you have to do is get quiet to hear them. And my only regret at this point in my career, musically, well, I mean, not my only one of the ones that I have is that I can't get all of them out quick enough. I can't get all of the melodies and all of the thoughts and all of the words out quick enough. I feel like my body can't channel it fast enough. And I feel like for people that were trained musically, that got really, really good at an instrument, that became a total shredder on guitar, or just became a complete genius on keys. I feel like you guys have the dexterity, you have the skill set that you've honed to be able to get out musical ideas really, really quickly. And I can get out melodies really quickly. But in terms of building a track, I really wish that I could do that a little bit faster than I do now. I wish that I had the ability to sort of free flow things a little quicker than I can. So, but yeah, I'm working on it. I mean, I'm still here, still here figuring out how to do it. And every time that I write a song, I feel like every time I sit down to write a song, I feel like I've forgotten how to write a song. And I feel like, what is a song? What makes up a song? What is going on here? And I just feel like I start from scratch. So if you feel like every time you sit down and try to be creative, you hit a brick wall, man, you're not alone. You just got to get out a sledgehammer and just beat the shit out of that thing until you have something that you're happy with. So Chase, I hope that was a thorough explanation of what my writing process is like. And maybe next week it'll change, but that's what I'm remembering of my writing process right now. And I'm normally writing at least every couple days in the studio. Joel Drasimski, you have one on here. Weird shows you've played, ? Weird shows you've played, weird rooms, crowds, openers, etc. Well, because our band started out in the Christian music industry, we played a lot of churches, and churches are at least in our experience, are super weird. There's always a weird group of people there. I felt so many times like we were taking the stage, but we were being watched just in case we did something that was too worldly or too weird or too something. And I think after years of doing that, it made us really volatile. So whenever we would take the stage, we kind of, instead of feeling that weight of people always watching us and judging what we were doing and worrying about whether or not we were doing the right thing, or we were going to please this promoter, or we're going to run into an issue getting our check at the end of the night, we just kind of adopted this whole fuck it mentality of, well, we're just going to do what we do and we're going to be ourselves. And part of us learning to be ourselves and to just express what we wanted to express, we came to that from a place of anger and frustration. And I think at this point in my life, I'm realizing that it's half of that is really cool because it kind of brings you to a breaking point where you have to self-actualize or die. And the other half of it is, hey, you can be brought to a place of self-actualization without being pushed there by other people, without being frustrated and angered to the point where you just let all this stuff go. All of your baggage and weirdness about people and about Christianity and about churches and about all that stuff. And you guys listen to the show all the time, you hear us talk about it. You hear us talk about really specific instances in which that has happened. And we are very open about our journey out of Christian music and in some cases out of Christianity. In some strange way, I feel like we're all sort of taking it together. And at the very least, it makes me feel really happy. It's a really cathartic experience for me to be able to talk through what I'm going through and to try to provide an understanding for people that are going through the same thing and to just listen. I'm at this place in my life right now where I'm just interested in what everyone else is going through. I just want to hear what you think about the world, what you think about. There are people that listen to this podcast I know who also have come out of Christianity, and there are a ton of you that are still in it and that love that, and that you find community and hope and peace in those communities and in those beliefs. And I love that too. I'm just trying to be as absolutely honest about where I am and about what I'm going through and about my journey into and out of things. And it makes me really happy to feel like we have a cool community. Like, if nothing else, then the Eleventy family, the Eleventy fans have always been so fun and so cool to us about everything. And And we've also gotten a little bit of throwback and hate mail from that, which I thought I might get into tonight, but I'm actually running a little bit longer than I thought I would. So, yeah, I'm trying to think. The weirdest show that we played, I think, was in Japan, where we took the stage and there was probably, I don't know, there's a few thousand people at the show, and we were super pumped to be there. And I think this was the Punk Spring Festival that we played in Japan, and where we're looking out over this huge concert hall of people, and everybody's just having the best time ever. And we have, I think we may have had like a guy dressed up as a robot with us at the time too. And that was super fun. But I just remember looking up, and on the far back wall, there were like go-go dancers in cages hanging from the ceiling. And I just started laughing in the middle of the show because it was the strangest thing that I had ever seen. I was just like, why do they have to be in cages? Let them out of there. Anyway, it was fun. And I think they were sponsored by Nike. That was the weirdest part. I could be misremembering all of that, but I'm pretty sure it was like there were dancers in cages hung from the ceiling, and they were dancing in there, and there was a sign on it that said brought to you by Nike or something. Anyway, strange shit. But it stuck out in my mind, and it made the world a little weirder and maybe a little more fun. So yeah. All right, so that's all that I think I'm going to be able to get to tonight, and I think it's all that we have on the Facebook page right now for the AMA. I'm so sorry to the people that I did not get to on Twitter, or to the people that sent me personal messages that I wasn't able to get to those either. But we have so many things that we need to wrap up in the Rock Candy Land, and yeah. So thank you guys for sticking with me through this kind of weird episode of Eleventylife where it's just me and I'm just pretending to talk to all of you. But man, I love you guys. Thank you so much for being a part of my life and of this community. Thank you for listening to my songs, to our music, to the music that we make. And I just want to encourage you guys to, while I'm here, write songs, be weird, draw pictures, hug people. Don't be afraid to be vulnerable. Put as many positive things out into the world as you can, even if you don't feel like it, even if you feel like people will hate you for it, or they'll misunderstand you, or they won't get it. Do something that somebody doesn't get, because I'll like it. Anyway, I love you guys, and I will see you next week on Eleventylife. Bye.
Eleventylife is a production of Rock Candy Recordings.